All right. How you guys doing? This is Micah Dobbins. We are live. I just want to make sure that you guys are able to share this video, let everybody know that the Micah Dobbins Show is alive and well. We are running. Looking forward to giving you guys a good show this evening. Hopefully you all are well. And as many of us are, we're just kind of still in limbo, waiting on the election results, no doubt. You're probably waiting on the election results out there as well. All right, so I'm going to give you guys a few minutes for those who may tune in while I'm live tonight. I'm going to give you a few minutes to go ahead and check in. Let me look at a few things, make sure my system's a go. Everything is good with the headphones, all right. Let's see, there we are. Yes, Micah Dobbins Show is live right now. Cool. All right, so hopefully you guys are able to hear everything and everything is well and checking in. I'll be looking off and on to the comments to make sure. Yes, I'll make sure you guys are straight. So anyway, I want to welcome you guys to my Friday night show. I know it has been a couple of weeks and people have been reaching out and want to know what's going on. So I'll be filling you guys in. We will be having some exciting announcements and details upcoming very soon. But in the meantime, in between time, you can tune in to me right now. I am on Facebook. You can also find me on the Micah Dobbins Show on YouTube. I have a Twitter account as well as Instagram. So you guys are able to check me out on those different platforms and holler at me. Also, if you want to sign up, check out the www.themicahdobbinsshow.com. You can sign up for my newsletter. And the newsletter basically comes out monthly, so the November newsletter hasn't been sent out yet. So please make sure you sign up so you don't miss it, because I want to make sure you guys actually check that out. So at any rate, we're going to go over a couple of stories today. For those who have experienced the show before, you know that pretty much I give you different segments and I break the show down in segmentation. So I'm going to be giving you guys that information tonight. This is also going to be uploaded to the Micah Dobbins Show podcast. So if you haven't gone to Anchor FM or Spotify, there's actually a Micah Dobbins Show podcast as well, where you're able to check me out there. All right, and as you can see, we're still rocking right now the Preeminent Radio logo. We also have a situation where Misfits and Media, shout out to them, that we're doing big things there as well. So hopefully you guys will be able to get involved in some of the things that I'm doing and hear some of the things that I have going on. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and break open with our national and local news. We're going to start first with our national and local news. And for those who may not know, this week has been a week of tragedy. We know we got the election. We're going to get to that. But I wanted to point out earlier in the week that, news has spread over the weekend. The gospel legend Bishop Rance Allen had died. From the Rance Allen Singers. If you've ever heard of Rance Allen, he's a gospel music star and a bishop. He was 71 years old and was recovering from a medical procedure at Heartland Pro Medica in Savannah, Ohio. But he passed around 3 a.m. and his wife of 49 years, Ellen Allen, and his manager, Toby Jackson, told everybody in a joint statement posted on Facebook, according to CNN. The world-renowned gospel singer and minister was known for the gospel hit Something About the Name Jesus and formed the Rance Allen Group with his brothers Tom and Steve in 1969, according to the group's website. So as you know, Bishop Allen, he had been singing for some time. He was ordained in 1978, served more than 6 years as an associate pastor of the Holiness Temple Church of God in Christ in Monroe, Michigan. And he also served as a pastor at the New Bethel Church of God in Christ in Toledo, Ohio. But he was a very renowned gospel singer, known in the gospel world. So I wanted to give you guys that news as well. And we also had another major death that took place over the weekend. Sean Connery, Sir Sean Connery, the actor, the Scottish actor best known for his portrayal as James Bond. Sean Connery passed away, and he was one of the first actors to actually bring the role to the big screen and appeared in 7 of the spy films. According to reports, he died peacefully in his sleep in the Bahamas, having been unwell for some time, his son added. He was 91 years old, so he lived a pretty long life. And his acting career spanned 7 decades. He won an Oscar in 1988 for his role in The Untouchables. You also know him from, The Hunt for Red October. He was in the Highlander series. He did Indiana Jones, The Last Crusade. He's also was the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. So, we wanted to give you guys the news on those that have passed away. Both Sean Connery as well as Rance Allen. Both have passed away. All right, so I wanted to kind of go over that, and I want to give you guys an update. As you may have heard today, the state of Georgia did turn blue. Pennsylvania may turn blue as far as the elections. We still do not know who the president is at this time. Many are thinking that Joe Biden will be giving a victory speech and that he'll name himself victor. The President Trump has also had several lawsuits, and he's gonna claim himself victor, which he has. So right now, it's gonna be a while. And I'm gonna be honest, when I first heard about the situation, I was hoping that it would be a landslide one way or the other, that we can kind of like know who it is and get it over with. Because I remember, I believe it was 2000, when you had Al Gore and Bush, and it was very close, and I think it boiled down to Florida then. And Florida got their act together since that election, because we didn't find out who the president was till like December. And at first they announced Al Gore the winner, and then later it ended up being Bush. So I'm wondering what's going to be the outcome right now as we're waiting to find out what's going on, you know, with this situation. Hopefully they get it settled, you know, between the lawsuits and all these things, and we can move forward. Because for those who live in Atlanta, Georgia, or those who live in Georgia, period, it seems we're going to have 2 runoffs in January. And with the Senate runoff, both seats, we're going to still hear commercials about John Ossoff and all of them guys, and Reverend Warnock and Kelly Loeffler, and we're going to be hearing, you know, about David Perdue. So for us in Georgia, the election ain't over. We're going to continue to hear campaigns. You're going to continue to get on YouTube and on the internet and Facebook and have all these ads rammed down your throats and robocalls to your house. So we'll see where we end up, guys, right now on the political spectrum. Other than that, in other news, I'm going to give you guys a couple of other stories that are taking place also. In other news, for those who follow the Breonna Taylor case, some of the jurors in the Breonna Taylor case spoke out, and they said that they didn't agree, the grand jurors didn't agree that the fatal shooting was justified. Now what's interesting here is a judge actually had them to release the information. I'm going to read right here. This story was taken from NBC News. It said a grand juror who heard evidence in the Breonna Taylor probe said Tuesday that the grand jury didn't agree to her fatal shooting was justified. A disclosure that came after a Kentucky judge ordered the records in the proceedings released to show if publicly elected officials are being honest. So basically the judge said, hey, listen, I don't know if the people that are elected are acting in the best interest of the public, because there were a lot of red flags in the case. A lot of things just didn't add up. So he allowed the records to be released. And upon doing that, he allowed some of the grand jurors to actually speak out their piece. And they were voicing their dissatisfaction with the way the case was handled. In a statement, grand juror number 1, as the person has been identified by lawyer Kevin Glauber, said that the only charge presented during the proceedings was wanton endangerment. So one of the grand jurors is saying, hey, the only charge they brought to us as the grand jury was the endangerment. They never brought anything in reference to like a manslaughter or you know, as far as second degree, third degree manslaughter and causing the death of Breonna Taylor. That wasn't brought to the forefront. The only thing that was given to the grand jury was the wanton endangerment, which was the officer who was charged, Brett Hankinson, former Louisville police detective Brett Hankerson, was indicted last month on the charge for firing shots into her neighbor's apartment. So that's where they got the charge for wanton endangerment, that when you were shooting in her apartment, some bullets went into the neighbor's wall and that was endangering their life. But as far as any charges in regards to Breonna Taylor's death, nobody was charged. So because of that, many of the grand jurors were not happy. They were saying that the self-defense and justification laws weren't explained. They also said that the homicide laws were not explained during the proceedings, even though the panel asked about them. So the people asked about it. They wanted to get something for the officer to be charged, but that information wasn't given to them. And for that reason, the records have been released. So we're going to be following that story to see what happens in the case of the Breonna Taylor situation. Also, guys, I want to give you guys another story that took place for those who may not know. And I know right now the presidential election is almost over, but I wanted to go ahead and discuss one of the cases that the Trump administration took up, because I believe it's going to be another court fight that we're going to be hearing in the near future. Basically, the Trump administration sued Google in what is the largest antitrust case against a tech company in more than 2 decades. So basically, they sued Google in its complaint. the Justice Department makes sweeping allegations that Google has stifled competition to maintain its powerful position in the marketplace for online search and search advertising. 11 states actually joined the lawsuit against Google. Arkansas, Florida, Georgia, Indiana, Kentucky, Louisiana, Mississippi, Missouri, Montana, South Carolina, and Texas all joined the lawsuit against Google. The complaint targets a series of interlocking actions by Google that as a whole allegedly harmed competition and prevented rivals from gaining a meaningful audience. And when you start talking about that, it's basically a monopoly situation. Those who are old enough to remember that, the antitrust situation that went on with the phone companies. Because back in the day, you had like Bell South or AT&T, that was it. And eventually, the government had to step in and kind of break these companies up into other fractions so that we could have competition as those who want to buy. Because if you only go to that monopoly, they can keep raising the price or setting it however they want. And you're pretty much stuck like Chuck. You just got to deal with it. So the administration decided to sue Google, and they were basically saying that it alleged that partly that Google pays billions of dollars a year to device manufacturers like Apple, LG, Motorola, Samsung, and browser developers like Mozilla and Opera to become their default search engine, and in many cases prohibit them from dealing with Google's competitors. As a result, Google effectively owns or controls search distribution channels, accounting for roughly 80% of the general search queries in the United States. What does this mean? You had a company called Bing. Some of you may be old enough to remember Ask Jeeves. All of these research engines that once existed, but Bing still exists, but nobody goes to it. Everybody automatically goes to Google because Google has become this great behemoth, this great company. And when you look at it, there's a new one called, I think, DuckDuckGo, where they're claiming they're not going to follow your searches and sell your data to other third-party vendors and stuff. But right now you have a situation where Google has become a juggernaut, just as Amazon and many other large tech companies. And it appears that the last administration has thoughts of going after these companies. They're saying, hey, nah, we're not going to have it. We're going to do something about it. So I will keep you guys abreast of that story as it proceeds, and we'll see what happens in the lawsuit with Google and if the government is successful in trying to break up the company. So those were some of our national local news stories. Hopefully you guys were able to catch that.